The shoreline of southern Spain is quiet at dawn. Fishing boats rock gently. Church bells wait for morning. Then someone points toward the horizon. Dark shapes cut through the mist. Not merchant ships, not pirates, tall vessels with unfamiliar lines, painted hulls, bright banners snapping in the wind. As they draw closer, drums begin to echo across the water. Slow, heavy, deliberate. Men step onto the sand wearing feathered armor that glints in the sun. Obsidian blades hang at their sides. Their faces are calm, focused, not lost, not afraid. Europe has been invaded before, by Romans, by Moors, by Vikings, but never by warriors from across the Atlantic. Never by an empire the old world believed could not survive its diseases, let alone its wars. This is the moment history was never meant to see. What if the Aztecs had reached Europe first? What if smallpox failed to stop them? And what if the New World did not fall, but sailed east? If immersive alternate. History like this pulls you in, subscribe and stay with the story. For centuries, the story has been told the same way. The Aztecs were powerful but doomed. Brilliant builders but trapped by fate. Their cities dazzled conquistadors, yet collapsed the moment disease arrived. According to legend, Europe conquered the Americas because it was stronger, smarter, and destined to win. But myths are comfortable, they simplify, and they are often wrong. In the early 16th century, Tenochtitlan was larger than most European capitals. Its causeways stretched across a vast lake. Its markets fed hundreds of thousands. Its engineers controlled water flow with dikes and canals that rivaled anything in the Mediterranean world. When Hernán Cortés first entered the city in 1519, he wrote that its order and scale rivaled cities of Spain itself. This was not a primitive society waiting to be erased. It was a functioning empire at its peak. The real weakness of the Aztecs was not military, it was biological. Smallpox arrived ahead of Spanish armies, tearing through populations with no immunity. In simple terms, immunity is the body's learned ability to recognize and fight disease. Europeans had it. The Aztecs did not. But history turns on narrow margins. A delayed outbreak, a less lethal strain, a population exposed earlier through limited contact. Any one change could have altered the outcome. And if smallpox failed to collapse the empire, everything else begins to shift. Across the Atlantic, Europe's dominance depended on ships, steel, and horses. Yet ships are not magic. They are technology. And technology can be learned. Would an empire that mastered stone, astronomy, and hydraulics truly fail to master the sea? As this question spreads, the myth of Aztec fragility begins to crack. Ocean travel is not about bravery, it is about understanding, waves, wind, and survival. In simple terms, a ship succeeds when its design can handle significant wave height, the average size of ocean swells during storms. European caravels were built for this, but they were not unique in principle, they were simply optimized. The Aztecs already understood long-distance logistics. Tribute moved across mountains, canoe fleets crossed lakes carrying tons of goods daily. Shipbuilding was not a conceptual leap, it was an engineering challenge, and engineering responds to pressure. Imagine a different timeline. Coastal Mesoamerican cultures share ship designs earlier. Larger hulls appear. Sails evolve from fishing craft to ocean-capable rigs. Trade expands north and south. Knowledge spreads. When smallpox does not devastate the population, there is time to experiment, to fail, to improve. Europe's own maritime rise followed this path. The Portuguese did not master the Indian Ocean overnight. They learned by losing ships, then redesigning them. The Aztecs would face the same curve, guided by astronomers who already tracked Venus and solar cycles with precision. Navigation is, at its core, pattern recognition. By the time the first Aztec fleet pushes into the Atlantic, the crossing is brutal. Storms batter hulls, men are lost, but survival creates proof, and proof creates momentum. When land finally appears on the eastern horizon, it is not a miracle, it is the result of accumulated knowledge. Spain becomes the first contact point. Farmers see sails, priests hear drums. Officials dismiss the reports as exaggeration. until armored warriors walk inland carrying weapons that cut without metal. Would Europe recognize the danger immediately or underestimate it as it once underestimated the Americas? Initial encounters are cautious, trade gestures, curiosity, mutual confusion. The Aztecs see stone cities and churches. Europeans see ritual scars and unfamiliar armor. Neither side understands the other's politics, but power reveals itself quickly. Aztec weapons shock European soldiers. Obsidian blades are sharper than steel, though more fragile. Used correctly, they disable rather than kill, a doctrine built around capture. Against plate armor, tactics change. Target joints, target horses, target supply lines. War is adaptation, not tradition. A historical parallel emerges in the Indian Ocean, where European powers once faced rivals who fought differently, forcing change. The Aztecs do the same. They learn gunpowder by observation. They learn cavalry weaknesses by experience. Europe's advantage has always been fragmentation. Kingdoms compete. Alliances shift. The Aztecs arrive as a unified imperial force. Diplomacy becomes as their sharpest weapon. Promises are made. Enemies of Spain listen closely. In this altered timeline, conflict erupts not as conquest but as destabilization. Trade routes collapse. Ports rebel. A foreign empire does not need to rule Europe to change it. It only needs to tip the balance. Meanwhile, fear spreads east. In the Mediterranean, rumors race ahead of reality. In the North Atlantic, sailors speak of warriors immune to European disease. In the Indian Ocean, merchants wonder whether the Atlantic is about to rewrite global trade. Would Europe unite against the threat, or fracture under the pressure of the unknown? The greatest change is not military, it is psychological. Europe has always defined itself as the center of the world. Now that belief fractures when an empire from across the ocean lands soldiers on European soil. The narrative of destiny collapses. The Aztecs do not conquer cathedrals, they conquer assumptions. They prove that progress is not owned by one continent, that immunity, not intelligence, decided the real history. Modern science supports this view. Genetic studies show how disease shaped outcomes more than weapons. Archaeology reveals infrastructure rivaling Europe's best. The invasion scenario exposes an uncomfortable truth. History was never guaranteed. It was conditional. Reassurance follows danger. The Aztecs face limits too. Supply lines stretch, winters bite, horses remain terrifying. Gunpowder evolves rapidly in European hands. The invasion stalls, then stabilizes. A balance forms. Trade replaces expansion. Knowledge flows both ways. Navigation improves globally. The Atlantic becomes a shared highway rather than a dividing wall. Centuries later, historians look back and argue whether this world is more violent or more honest. The answer is neither. It is more symmetrical. Power is no longer explained by myth. It is explained by circumstance, and the image remains haunting. Feathered warriors on a European shore, not as conquerors of destiny, but as proof that history could have gone another way. The world did not change because the Aztecs were superior. It changed because they survived long enough to arrive, and that is the quiet lesson beneath the spectacle. History is not written by fate. It is written by timing, resilience, and the fragile line between survival and collapse.